Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Greg Schiano is back, and the Rutgers faithful could not be more excited, as the man that was responsible for making Rutgers football relevant again nearly 15 years ago is back in 2020 trying to do the exact same thing. Schiano coached the Scarlet Knights from 2001 to 2011, compiling a 68-67 record. And while that does not sound that great, considering the state of Rutgers football when he took over, it is absolutely unbelievable. He now inherits a Scarlet Knights team that's gone 7-29 over the past 3 years under Chris Ash and has lost 21 straight Big Ten conference games. Rutgers is not going to magically become a bowl contender in 2020, but Schiano can certainly, slowly but surely, get them back to relevancy, not just in the Big Ten, but on the national stage as well. The rebuilding process starts now, though, and there are so many questions within this Rutgers football program. We'll start offensively, as the Scarlet Knights return just 7 starters. The million-dollar question is, who's going to be quarterback? Who is going to lead a Scarlet Knights offense that scored just 13.3 points per game last year? Who's going to be the quarterback for a team that had a 5.4% interception rate last year? A team that, on average, threw the most interceptions than any other Power 5 school. Is it going to be Artur Sitkowski or Johnny Langan or the Nebraska quarterback in Noah Vedral, the transfer from the Cornhuskers? Langan and Sitkowski combined for just a little over 1,200 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions in 2019. That's not good. Not good at all. What they will probably rely on is their running backs in Isaih Pacheco, K'Ron Adams, and Aaron Young. They've got 3 very capable running backs there that Rutgers will probably lean on, and that will really benefit new offensive coordinator Sean Gleeson, coming over from Oklahoma State, where his team averaged over 450 yards per game last year. He wants to get more to a power run system. He has the guys to do just that. Defensively, Rutgers returns 8 starters from a team that allowed 36.7 points per game last year, one of the worst scoring defenses and scoring margins in the entire country. They have a very deep linebacking core in Tyshawn Fogg, who led the team with 104 tackles last year. They've got Rayshawn Battle, who had 3 sacks last year, and their secondary, keep in mind, landed Ohio State transfer Brendan White. He gets along paired with Trey Avery, and this Rutgers defense should greatly improve in 2020. We take a look at their schedule here, which 2 things really stand out to me. The first is that they don't get a bye week until November 7th, so very unfortunate for the Scarlet Knights. The second, a little bit of a fun fact, their schedule is very similar to Maryland's as of last year, at least in the month of September. Maryland opening up the season against an FCS opponent, facing off against Syracuse, going on the road to play Temple, and then facing a Big Ten East juggernaut in Penn State, while Rutgers gets Ohio State. Just a fun fact, a little bit of speculation there. But we take a look here. I believe the Greg Schiano era gets kicked off with a win over Monmouth out of the FCS. Should take care of business. That's a great tune-up game for a returning head coach, but in his first year back at his new school, and so many key pieces they've got to replace, especially without spring practice. They then get Syracuse at home, a team that disappointed last year, going 5-7. But they do return their quarterback in Tommy DeVito. They do return 4 starters defensively. And the only thing that's going to keep Rutgers in this game is if their offense exceeds expectations. And we got to make sure that we don't jump to conclusions after the Monmouth game, because they dropped 48 on UMass last year, but then proceeded to get shut out in 2 of their next 3 games. So we can't jump to conclusions after what we see in week 1. But I do think Rutgers dropped some points on the Orange, but I do think the Orange bounced back after that disappointing 5-7 season. If they want to bounce back and get to the postseason, they've got to beat Rutgers, and I think they do just that. I think Rutgers competes. I see this game being very similar to the Boston College game last year, which Rutgers lost 30-16, but was relatively respectable against a Power 5 opponent. I think that happens here against Dino Babers and the Orange. They then go on the road to take on Temple out of the American Athletic, a team that went 8-5 last year, including wins over Maryland, Georgia Tech, and Memphis, who made the Cotton Bowl. They returned 8 starters offensively, including their star quarterback in Anthony Russo, and they returned 4 starters on defense that ranked 4th in the American Athletic Conference in scoring defense. I look at this Temple game. This is a game on the road that I do not feel confident about. Temple, for some reason, always plays very well at home, but more specifically, they play very well defensively. With a veteran quarterback and a Rutgers offense that I think will struggle for a lot of parts of this season, I don't see them going on the road and taking care of business against the Owls, and I see them dropping this game to fall to 1-2. And we'll go ahead and make it 1-3 here. Don't have to talk much about Ohio State. Rutgers lost by 35 to the Buckeyes last year, and I don't see many people defeating Ohio State this year. Justin Fields returns, one of the best offenses and quarterbacks in the country. The defense will be working through some things, but the Rutgers offense is not going to be the one to exploit those weaknesses. They then get an intriguing home game against Illinois, a team they lost to 38-10 last year. Illinois returns a lot of starters offensively from a team that finally broke through and made a bowl game under Lovie Smith. That includes their quarterback, Brandon Peters, returning, and his top 4 wide receivers. Certainly going to be a test for this Rutgers defense. But the overlying number I'm looking at is Illinois allowed 195.5 rushing yards per game last year. I think Sean Gleeson gets this offense rolling, at least with the run game. Not one of the best in the conference, not one of the best in the nation, but way better than where they were before. And I think that after 22 straight Big Ten Conference losses, I think Greg Schiano comes in year 1 and snaps that losing streak. I've got Rutgers upsetting the Fighting Illini at home. And many people will criticize this. They'll think it's ridiculous. They'll say there's no way that Rutgers can beat Illinois, even if it is at home. Keep in mind that last year, even though Rutgers lost by 28 to the Fighting Illini, that game was tied at 10-10 at halftime. Rutgers came out in the second half, had too many turnovers, which resulted in touchdowns. I believe 2 of those were pick sixes, and Illinois ran away with that game. They cut down on the turnovers. They take care of the ball just a little bit better. This game can be close, and I like Greg Schiano at home to sneak one out here and end that 22-game conference losing streak. What more could you ask for in year 1 under Schiano? Might not get to a bowl game, but getting a conference win is huge. At Purdue, had them falling to the Boilermakers. They're going to take a major step forward this year. They were hit by so many injuries last year. They lost Elijah Sindelar. They lost Rondale Moore, but Rondale Moore should be back. Jack Plummer had a lot of playing experience for Elijah Sindelar in replacement of him. David Bell really had a breakthrough season at wide receiver. I think Jeff Brom and his guys get back. I think at home they're very difficult to beat. And I don't see Rutgers, even though they're going to come off an emotional Big Ten victory, has enough to beat Purdue. And I don't think they have enough to beat Indiana either. This is an Indiana team that Rutgers lost to 35-0 last year. One of the 4 shutout losses that Rutgers had in 2019. And this Indiana team returned 17 starters. Their offense will probably average yet again over 30 points per game, just like they did last year. And their defense will take an even bigger step forward after allowing just a little over 24 points per game, which in the Big Ten is not bad at all. Indiana is a very, very dangerous team to watch out for. A sneaky good team in this Big Ten East. Rutgers simply does not have enough to upset the Hoosiers. They get Nebraska at home. This is another trap game for the Cornhuskers here. One that, if they're not careful, they could fall to the Scarlet Knights. They really, really could. Unfortunately, I don't have that happening for Rutgers. I have them losing yet again to Nebraska. This is a team that should take another step forward under Scott Frost. They took a small step forward last year, just couldn't get to the bowl game. I think they can do that in 2020. Also, Nebraska is coming off a bye week coming into this game. So on a week of rest, even though it's a road game, you've got a well-rested Scott Frost team that needs every win they can get because they're not going to break through and win the Big Ten or make the Big Ten championship, but they desperately need to get to a bowl game. This win could be critical in getting them there. They then, right before their bye week, go on the road to Maryland, Another game that could be relatively close if Rutgers takes the steps forward that we think they can. While the wins might not rack up this year, they certainly will be more competitive. Expect a competitive game on the road against Maryland, but don't expect yet another win. Maryland should, if they can, stay healthy with Josh Jackson at quarterback, which will give them stability at that position that they didn't have in 2019. The defense should take a little bit of a step forward like Rutgers. These are two of the worst teams in the country last year when it came to their scoring defenses. So you're either going to see a low-scoring game because their offenses are going to struggle, or a high-scoring game because their defenses are going to be so bad. But with more stability at quarterback, home field advantage on their side, and a second-year head coach in Mike Locksley, I like Maryland getting the win here on Halloween. So they get a bye week, finally. Of course, by this point, they are out of bowl contention. We know that. They're sitting here with just 2 wins. But they do have a conference win. That's going to be the silver lining right now, is that conference win over Illinois. A bye week going into the game against Michigan, a team that has not treated them very nicely over the past few years. Rutgers was annihilated by the Wolverines 52-0 last year. A few years ago, they were annihilated by Michigan 78-0. The Wolverines show no mercy against Rutgers. I don't expect there to be much mercy yet again this year. Even though Rutgers is coming off a week of rest, this is a Michigan team that's going to have a very strong defense yet again, as we've always seen under Jim Harbaugh. And if they find stability at quarterback, more than likely under the arms of Dylan McCaffrey, they could probably win 9 or 10 games yet again in 2020. Have them losing to the Wolverines, and I do have them losing to the Spartans as well. Michigan State, a team that shut out Rutgers last year 27-0. Once again, one of those 4 shutout losses that they faced in 2019. But you look at this Spartans team, so many questions on the board, questions within the coaching staff because they hired Mel Tucker in February and then they didn't have spring practice. They have questions at quarterback. They have questions on defense. This isn't going to be a great Michigan State team. I think it's going to be a very long year for them. But I think they have a little bit more stability across the board than Rutgers will. They're going to have home field advantage, which is going to give them a slight edge. I don't care if fans are there or not. I do not care about that. Because regardless, it's still a road game. The other team has to travel. The home team does not. So while Michigan State might not have much to play for in this game, Mel Tucker needs to get his feet wet in the Big Ten. He needs to rack up as many wins as he can. And I think they get a win over Rutgers here. And I think Rutgers falls in the season finale against Penn State. Now keep in mind, this is a game that Penn State cannot afford to overlook. Not just because it's at Rutgers, but because the Scarlet Knights have given the Nittany Lions a fight over the past few years. In 2018, they only lost by 13. In 2019, they only lost by 21. Penn State had the talent those 2 years to blow Rutgers out of the water, to beat them like Michigan has beaten them over the past few years. And they didn't. And if Penn State is not in contention for the Big Ten East, they seem to get a little down on themselves. They seem to kind of give up. Yeah, we'll win the games, but we're not going to try as hard. They cannot afford to sleep on Greg Schiano and the Scarlet Knights, who, yeah, they have nothing to play for. They have nothing to play for but for pride and to ruin someone else's season. And they could do that against Penn State. I just don't think it's going to happen against a very talented Nittany Lions team. So they get the loss here in the season finale and finish 2020 at 2-10. Once again, not very exciting. Not very exciting at all. But Greg Schiano is back. And there are a couple things you have to keep in mind with him. The first thing is look at what happened his first stint at Rutgers. Schiano went 2-9 in 2001, his first year with the Scarlet Knights. He went 1-11 in 2002, his second year with the Scarlet Knights. It wasn't until his 5th year with Rutgers that he finally broke through and made a bowl game. And that was back in the Big East. The Big Ten's a completely different game. The game has changed dramatically since the early 2000s. So he has his work cut out for him. But with great coordinators in Sean Gleeson and Rob Smith as defensive coordinator, I think you will see a Rutgers team that, yeah, sure, might not rack up the wins this year, but will be much more competitive across the board. Forget everything you know about Rutgers. It's all about the change. It's all about the change. It might not change immediately. It's going to be drastic. It's going to be over time. But Rutgers is no longer a team that you can see on your schedule and give an automatic win. You can't look at Rutgers, overlook them, and say, yeah, we're going to beat them. Those days are over. Greg Schiano is going to turn this program around very, very soon. And I can't wait for it to happen because he will certainly be shocking the nation. So guys, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out everything we have for you down in the description below. We've got exclusive college football news, content, and offers that you do not want to miss, so check it all out. And once again, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.